What's up guys, welcome back to another episode. For those new here, thank you so much for clicking. I am Cecilia Chopeta, and on this video, it's about to get a little bit TMI, so if that's going to be an issue for you, please just exit before it even begins. So straight up, I'm going to be discussing with you some female hygiene tips. So I wrote some 10 tips and I hope they actually help you out, or rather I hope they actually answer your search question. So I'll just take you through the 10 tips real quick, and I'll just give you my thoughts and point of view. So yeah, let's get straight into this video. So first tip was what I wrote down was the armpits. So when it comes to the armpits, some people tend to have smelly armpits, and some people tend to have sweaty armpits. So I have experienced the smelly part before, because I remember one time when after I was done with high school, I visited some relative of mine, and one day when we were on a ride in her car, she straight up told me, "Your armpits smell." So ever since this day, I decided to do something about it. My mom gave me this idea, and I hope it actually helps you out. So the idea was basically, she told me, take a piece of lemon, cut the lemon into 2 halves, then take baking soda and sprinkle some baking soda on it, then scrub your armpits for like 2 to 3 minutes, and that is it. So I have been doing that so far, and I have not had any complaints. Now they don't smell, and I am so glad about that. So tip number 2 when it comes to the armpits is sweaty armpits. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about this. I know you're not alone out here, though I have never experienced a problem with sweaty armpits, but I did my research and I found out that you can use apple cider vinegar. So basically what it talked about was, you can take apple cider vinegar bottle top and just use like 2 tops of it, pour it into water, and just apply under your armpits and let it dry. Afterwards, just go and take a shower. So that is what I discovered. So you can try this out and let me know how it goes out for you. So yeah, tip number 2 was basically what I wrote was yeast infections, UTI infections, and any infections in general. So as I was doing my research, I realized that most people who tend to be under contraceptives or tend to be actually active, I realized that yeast and UTIs, you are prone to yeast infections and UTI infections. So what basically I can advise you, and also from the research that I have done, is that if you're sexually active, try to pee after sex. Always pee after sex. It kind of helps. So yeah, if you never used to pee after sex, I think it's time for you to consider peeing after sex. And then also, when you're under contraceptive and you find that these contraceptives are making you more prone to yeast infections, I think it's time you went back to your doctor and just tell him how it is affecting you, so that if it's changing your contraceptive, you can do that. So for yeast infections, how I figured out how to deal with this yeast infection, and mind you, it doesn't mean that only people who are sexually active and under contraceptive are the only ones that are prone to this yeast infections and UTI infection. Any girl out there can get yeast infection and or UTI infection. So basically how I managed to go about this is, I normally take a warm basin of water, like I just pour some warm water in the basin, and then I pour in some baking soda and some vinegar, and I just sit in it for like 5 to 10 minutes, and that has done the job for me. So I don't remember the last time I had a yeast infection or a UTI infection, so it worked for me, and I hope it actually works for you. And something else that I have experienced before having a UTI infection or a yeast infection is, when we tend to pee, it normally feels like razor blades cutting through us. So how I managed to go about this is, there's usually an extension rod in toilets, the one that is used to rinse yourself down there. So what I realized is, what I do is that I take the rod, as I relieve myself, I just direct it to myself so that it can help with the pain. It actually relieves the pain, like you don't feel the pain while you're relieving yourself. So that has helped. You should also take a look at that. And something else, if you do not have the toilet rod, you can just use a toilet mug. While you're relieving yourself, just try splashing water as you relieve yourself. It actually helps a lot with that burning sensation. So that is it. And then on the third tip, it's basically smell on the cookie area and high pH levels. So some may be after sex, some may be after periods, some may be just in general. But if you are there, if you're out there and you're a lady, and one day or one time or at one point in time you're just there, you're like, no, these pH levels do not make any sense. So if you're trying to find a solution, I hope this works for you. So what basically I do again is same thing. I take baking soda and vinegar, pour some of it. I just don't pour too much, just pour like, if it's for the baking soda, you can just pour like a teaspoon of it into the warm water, and the vinegar you can just pour like the 1 cup or 2 cups, and you just pour it into the warm water, sit on it for like 5 to 10 minutes. And then something else that I realized, though I have been doing it wrongly, but it's never affected me. In fact, it's actually even helped me. But it is recommended to use apple cider vinegar and not white vinegar. So you should also consider that. Though it's never been harmful to me, because I have used white vinegar, the normal white vinegar. But what is recommended is actually apple cider vinegar. Yeah. And then my fourth tip is minimize on those underwears. I know most of you may find this weird, but it's actually true. Minimize on those thongs, minimize on those underwears. So basically what I am trying to tell you is that if you are at home, like now it's quarantine period, I don't think it's necessary for you to put in some underwear unless you are on your bloody month. Then you can do that. Other than that, just let your cookie breathe. Or if you have to go out, then fine, put on your underwear, but make sure it's cotton, because you know there's some of these things that are not recommended for our cookies. Things like silk underwears. Silk underwears tend to retain moisture. If you ever just take one day, take off your silk underwear and just look at it where it was in contact with your cookie, you'll just find like a patch of moisture. That means underwear is retaining those moistures. So you should probably consider looking for thong underwears, looking for cotton thong underwears, or yeah, just cotton in general. And then also back again to the minimizing in underwears. For someone who is always out and about, you can also do it at night. Just try minimizing on putting on the underwear, because keep in mind the cookie is always, there's this underwear that is always rubbing onto the cookie, and that cookie needs to breathe. It needs to have some fresh air. So yeah. Next up is itchiness. After shave, or basically anytime, or if you have pimples or pimples down there and all that. So itchiness most of the times, I would say for me, comes during period. I feel like most of the stuff comes during period month. During period months, you may tend to have some itchiness. And also after shaving yourself, if you end up shaving yourself wrongly, then you are prone to have an itch. So how I go about this is that after showering, first of all, most of the times when I am on that bloody month, I make sure I shower with Dettol. Like I just pour some little Dettol on my water and I shower with it. Then afterwards, after showering, after wiping myself and I'm all dry, I normally take some coconut oil. Like pure coconut oil, and just try to rub sideways, because that also helps with friction, with the pad friction. It helps a lot with the pad friction. So I just apply coconut oil. It has worked for me, and I hope it actually works for you too. So Yes, and for the pimples, let's say for example, like you're this person who tends to have a lot of pimples, I would say from time to time shift from coconut oil to baby powder, from coconut oil to baby powder. Just treat that place like a very sensitive, like how you would treat a baby's bum. That is how you should treat your cookie down there. Clean it well, oil it with some coconut oil, because coconut oil has its own benefits. So you do that, and then afterwards also try incorporating baby powder and just applying on the pimples so that it can minimize the pimples. So that is it. And then on the sixth tip, what I basically wrote is friction on the boobs and on the thighs. When I came back from Nairobi, the heat really affected me, and what ended up happening to me is that I ended up having sweaty underboobs. I had sweaty underboobs, I had itchy underboobs, and it started turning red because I was really scratching myself. So how I figured out how to deal with this situation is that yet again I brought in Dettol. As much as some research says that you're not supposed to use Dettol all the time because it tends to kill even the healthy bacteria that is good for your body, I was fed up with what was happening to me. So I just used Dettol and I showered with it, and what Dettol did was it dried that place up. It is still very hot, and after what Dettol did was it basically dried that place up, and after showering with Dettol, I would wipe myself up and then just slap some baby powder under my boobs. From time to time, I would slap some baby powder, or also I would use coconut oil. So I have been using the three when it comes to the underboob problem, and since then the itch went away, the redness went away, just the sweatiness went away. And guys, it is still hot in Mombasa and I do not have that problem anymore. So that has worked for me, and I hope it works for you. And then coming to the thigh area, I strongly believe that some of us were to be created as we were supposed to be mermaids, but something went wrong on the way. I don't know, but yes, our thighs tend to, they are best friends for life. So they are so close to each other that most of the times you tend to have friction. So how I basically go about this issue is that same thing. I use Dettol, I use oil, what is this called? Most of the times I use coconut oil for the thighs. For baby powder, I don't use it that much. I don't use it that much, but from time to time I tend to incorporate it. But then what I use most is Dettol. I shower with Dettol, and then I apply some coconut oil to the affected area, and it really works wonders. So I hope it helps you too. And then on the seventh point is basically front to back wiping. So what I wrote on this, what I mean by front to back wiping is basically your toilet affairs. So how do you handle your toilet affairs? So if you're the type of person that normally wipes themselves, like after you're done with the number 2, if you're the type of person that normally wipes themselves from back to front, keep in mind your cookie is a very delicate area. Your cookie is a very delicate area. So by the time you're wiping from back to front, just know everything is coming to the front, and that will lead to infections, will just lead to a lot of problems that you do not need right now. So it's high time you started accommodating the fact that you need to start wiping from front going backwards. Yes, and then something else when it comes to toilet habits is the things that you use down there. Please try avoiding scented stuff, because this scented stuff may be the cause of all your problems, all your infections down there. So try avoiding scented stuff, scented soaps, scented toilet papers, scented wipes. Just keep it as simple as you can. Do not incorporate scent down there, because your pH needs to be at a certain level. It needs to be at a certain level for everything to work normally down there. Yes, so what's something else that I would advise you, what you use to clean yourself, just make sure it's really gentle on your skin, because yet again, I am saying this again, your cookies are sensitive areas and they are so delicate. So don't be bringing in rough stuff that are going to cause damage or just harm all. So yes, keep that in mind. And then tip number 8, it kind of relates with the previous point, but this is tricks that I realized and I managed to do when it comes to public restrooms and public toilets. So what has worked for me is that whenever I am in a public restroom and maybe I need to go for a number 2 or something, I would take a toilet paper. And also something else I would advise you, please always carry a toilet paper with you. So yes, I would take a toilet paper and then I would just roll it on the seat. I just roll it all around the seat and then I sit on it and do my business. Then afterwards I take another piece of tissue paper and just try pushing it back into the toilet seat so that I can flush it. So that has worked for me. And then something else when I am in the toilet that I learned to survive is, I really hate when this happens. When you sit in the toilet, what for me has worked for me is that when I know I am about to sit in a toilet and I'm about to do my business, I normally make sure that I have thrown some toilet paper inside that toilet. Like I just throw in some toilet paper so that I avoid the water splashing back into my ass. I really hate that. So for me, I normally, every time before I sit in a toilet, I must throw in some tissue paper in that seat and just make sure the water is covered, so when I'm doing my business, nothing jumps back into me. So I hope this trick helps you. And then on tip number 9 is basically how to deal or how to cope with the Bloody Mary month. I know it's really not a pleasant month for us girls. It tends to be confusing, it tends to be hectic, and it tends to be irritating. So guys, please just bear with us when we are in that period month. Though I'm not trying to encourage or incite girls to take advantage of this, but yeah, our hormones tend to be all over the place. So how basically I can advise you on how to survive this month. First things first, if you're someone who is prone to yeast infections and UTI infections, try minimizing on do not put on your pad for too long. Don't leave it on for too long. You know, you don't have to do everything that the pad instructs you to do. So that you should consider. And also something else, just try showering as much as you can. You know, when you shower, you remove everything and you refresh that area down there. So just try, if you can shower at least twice or thrice when you're in that period of the month, like in a day you just shower twice or thrice, that will go a very huge way in helping you. And then something else that I really don't like when I am in my period months, though I have learned to go about this issue, is that whenever I was on my periods, I was so sure that in the next morning I would find something waiting for me on my bed. Like I would always stain my bed. So it really got irritating. How I first managed to handle this situation was that there was a specific lasso, that one lasso that you really hate. So what I used to do is basically I would line it on my sheets. So I would line it, then sleep on it. So when I would stain on that lasso. Then, you know, it's easier washing a lasso than washing everything. So that helped me out. And then afterwards is something that I realized is some of us tend to be heavy floors. So another trick that I actually discovered is that I buy two pads during this month. So the first pad is this one and the second pad is this one. So this one tends to be thicker. So this is the thick one. As you can see, it's actually really thick. So this one I wear it at night. I don't know, but most of the times when I used to wear this at night, it's what I used to stain my bed all the time. So I stopped using this in the night and I now use this during at night. So you can even see the difference that one is really thick and the other one is like really thin. So yeah, that has worked for me. I used to see this back in high school. There's actually those individuals who period will tend to bring you down. Like your period cramps tend to be so bad. So If you're that person, I am sorry for that. What I would advise you, if you're the type of person who Constant doesn't work on you, Buscopan doesn't work on you, Buscopan Plus doesn't work on you, Ibuprofen doesn't work on you, I think you should take a look at Myospaz, because I think Myospaz is really strong. Like, it's really strong. It's just on another level, and it's basically a muscle reliever, something like that. And we both know that these are muscles contracting. So I hope, I don't know, give this medicine a try and let me know if it works out for you. And also something else that you can incorporate is having the water bottle. I don't have mine here right now, but I would have shown you. So basically, I bought this water bottle a very long time ago at A1, and it was actually 250 bob, and it didn't have the cloth with it, but I later acquired the cloth later on. But if yours doesn't have a cloth, you can just take a lasso or a t-shirt, dress it, and then just place it on the affected area. So I hope that helps you, and I hope you stay strong. Lastly is on the same point, I know also, as much as this may be hard, try exercising. Exercising helps a lot. If you have acne, if you have pimples, if you're an individual who normally tends to have problems, be it health-wise or be it facial-wise, just try working out. You know, the minute you sweat, I don't know the exact science about this, but the minute you sweat, and I have experienced this before, every time when I was at the gym, I would get the same comments over and over. Your face looks really nice when you work out. Your face looks really nice when you work out, because you look young. Your face, I don't know, your face just looks really good. You can just try it one day. Try having an intensive workout. After that, you immediately see your face, I don't know, your face just tends to have a certain glow. So just try working out once or twice, you know, to keep things healthy and to keep things pumping inside your body. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, because this is it for the video. Please don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to show some support. So yeah, bye guys, and see you on my next